All right, let's try this again. Apologies, I had no audio, and thank you to the person who posted that. Um, Forgot to put on my headset. That's what happens when you get up in the morning excited to do something and you don't do all the testing you're supposed to do ahead of time. So hopefully it's all working now. I tested it out. Looks like it is. Hopefully my headset holds up. I had to charge it as well. So let's jump right in again and cover what I've done so far in my replay for 1980. Those of you not um, familiar with it, I decided to go an event where I'm not replaying just baseball or football or basketball. I decided to replay everything that I can think of that happened in 1980 um, and throw in some fun stuff that didn't happen in 1980. So let's just jump right in to the deck. Uh, Here we go. So what did I cover in 1980 so far in January? Had college football in there, and I'm going to go over each one of these. But I had college football, which was fun. Some rugby. Didn't think I'd do that, but I decided to do it. It was fun. All of these were fun. Um, the NFL, and then I created a game called the World Rally Championship, which is basically car racing in the snow. Well, it's not just the snow, but it's a lot thing that happened in 1980. It was a lot of fun. Some PGA golf. I created a dodgeball league, and some of these were um, new games that I created. Some of them were um, season sets that I created. Some of them were concepts that I created around games. So I'll get into all that with each one. Some indoor soccer. Really liked that as a kid. So started out with a game called KISS and transitioned into my own game for these. Um, Tennis for men's and women. And I will at the end go over every single game that I use for these to give credit to the game developers for these. I used for hockey, got the NHL 79-80 season. And as a note for anything that's a 79-80 season, like hockey and basketball, um, I simmed the season up to January 1st and then started playing the games from there. The XHL is a set from Play Games for their Hockey Blast. I use that. It's a fictional set. Um, Fishing, I used a game from Play Games, but I created a concept around this. I'll get into that. Uh, College basketball, I played that. Again, that's another one of the 79-80 seasons, so simmed up to January 1st and then took over from there. NBA, same concept as college basketball. Bowling, that's been a lot of fun. The Divergence Desk is a concept that I created, and I will get deeply into that. But we'll do a February preview and then again a behind the dice feature, which is going to be like, what did I use? And a little bit of the road of January of why I ended up getting into creating my own games, something I said I'd never do. So never say never. All right, let's jump into college football. So in January, to kick things off, I played the bowl games because, traditionally back in the 80s and before that, when I was a kid, everything was on January 1st. All the bowl games. That's so much fun to watch as a kid. ABC had one game, NBC had another game, CBS had another game. All they were all flowing at the same times as you just move around. It was just so much fun. So I'm just going to hit the top ones that I played. One of the funny things that I realized during this is because I'm such a as played fanatic. It's something also a road that I've kind of gotten off of now. But I couldn't even think of playing a national championship game because they didn't do that back in the 80s. They let the press decide their national championship. And I was thinking, why am I doing that? I could just play the national championship. So Alabama ended up edging out Florida State for the national title. Again, was not a game that happened in 1980. Didn't have one, but I created one. So some other games, my Buckeyes, they did win this weekend in real life, though. Down with those, those guys. So USC beat Ohio State. Unfortunately, Charles White ran all over him. In the Orange Bowl, FSU beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma had missed a field goal at the buzzer to tie the game. So FSU ended up going on undefeated at that point and eventually facing Alabama. And Houston beat Nebraska with 12 seconds left on a touchdown. A lot of fun. Used pay dirt for this. I had to create my own charts for this, but it was a lot of fun. NFL playoffs, unfortunately, went exactly the way they did in real life. So I played the championship games with Steelers, and Bradshaw and Lynn Swan were all over. The Oilers beat them fairly handily, 38-20. And the NFC game was much more exciting as Corral hit a field goal right at the gun to win this one. And the Super Bowl was really fun because the Steelers jumped out, I think it was 31-14 or something like that. And the Rams came all the way back. Vince Ferragamo was awesome. They took a 35-34 lead, and then Bradshaw let them downfield on a 2-minute drill, and Matt Barr hit a 38 hit. It was a 38-yard field goal. I don't remember the distance, but he hit a field goal with 38 seconds left to win the game. A lot of fun for a Super Bowl. But nothing changed. Everybody ended up in the exact same order in the NFL draft, and I will talk about that in the February preview. All right, so a game that I had zero knowledge, uh, but decided to go after, and I went after this because um, I saw some people playing it at a convention I went to. Saw people playing this game rugby, and I was like, wow, that's actually kind of neat. And I've seen it on television. Everybody's seen it. Um, and I decided to go for it and try to play it. And so I did. And Ireland, the first thing that was up was a Five Nations tournament, 5 different teams in it. Ireland won, and Scotland was 2-2. They edged out Wales, so they were both tied at 2-2, but they beat them in the points differential. And Wales had nipped, 12-11 on a late drop goal. It's how Wales. Actually, I think that should be the other way around. No, it was. It was. Even though Wales beat Scotland, the tournament rules. If I'm not again, I'm not a rugby, but I think the points differential, despite Wales beating Scotland, they get the nod for second place. Anyway, it's second place. Nobody remembers second place. And England got the wooden spoon because they couldn't win a game. All right, so that was fun. All right, on to a game I created. This is another one that I just thought was kind of fun to play out. I looked and found a couple of racing games, but nothing I was really interested in. And then I went into creative mode and decided to A, build a game, and B, build a concept around a game. And this was my first kind of attempt to enter fictional characters, if you will, into a game. And so I did. And as you can see, I added like the Blues Brothers. They have their own car. Doc is in from the 1980s movies. Bill Murray under character is in it. That's a really bad creation of his face, but actually they're all not really all that great. But anyway, I thought it was a really cool photo, so I kept it. Ended up with 32 drivers, and they have tournaments. And any of you are familiar with how they do it, Monte Carlo is the first race, and it's really cool. So I did that. And I apologize earlier if I get names wrong because I don't know them. Dabariza Pons won the first run, first tournament at Monte Carlo with Raul and Makola finishing second and third. There were 10 do not finishes. I had a couple of, like I said, I had celebrities in this. I had some people from the C&D community in it. You can catch all that on my Facebook page if you want to scroll through all the posts that are there. That's where that's at. You can see all the stuff there. And Pons right now leads the standing with 20 points. So the more races coming up in February. Golf. This is going to be a standard kind of setup, which is really nice that it worked out this way. Different champions for each event. I love it. So here we had 3 tournaments in January for the PGA. Tom Kite took the initial Bob Hope Desert Classic, followed by the Phoenix Open, which was really fun because it went down to the 18th hole. And I thought Kite was going to be a 2-time champ already, but Mike Reed took him by a stroke on the 18th hole, birdie in the 18th hole, I believe it was, and beat Kite. And Tim Simpson, won the San Diego Open, the Andy Williams San Diego Open, on a playoff win over Lindsay. So 3 champs in January makes February exciting. See where that goes. All right, on to a game that Play creates, which is called Dodgeball. So I had to create, because they give you obviously fake players. It's Dodgeball. Created basically, I believe, off the movie Dodgeball. So I created a concept around Saturdays in 1980. Used to watch the celebrity games where they had celebrities and athletes competing in different events. So I took that concept and idea and created a dodgeball league with this. And who doesn't love a picture of Bo Derek, right? So there are 8 games. There's 16 teams that I created. All I must have created the cards correctly because at least it's working for me. The 8 games, all of them came down to last rolls, whatever. They were thrillers. There were no blowouts, so that's good. So I must have put the teams right. And Bo Derek was a monster in this. She was the MVP week 1, basically. Definitely for her team, the Showboats. Some of the people that I have in it, like Stallone, had a couple big games in week 1, and Bjorn Borg was an MVP. Harrison Ford was all over everything, and of course he plays for the Empire Strikers. So again, you want to see more of this? There's much more coming for the Dodgeball League, and it's all posted on the Facebook page. Okay, on to a sport that I liked as a kid. Indoor soccer. Never, I shouldn't say, I use that word never again. As a kid, I wasn't into outdoor soccer. Thought it was boring. Watch the teams go up and down the field. The athlete you have to be to run up and down a soccer field and nothing happen is amazing. It's like you're a referee. You're just running down, running back, running down, running back. Final score 0-0. I just never got into outdoor soccer as a kid. I am getting into it as an adult. I'm seeing the game for what it is. Anyway, I digress. Indoor soccer. I thought that was fun because that was basically hockey, which I also wasn't into as a kid. Hockey with a soccer ball because you got the boards, it's all indoors, it's fast, 10 to 8 games, a lot more fun to watch. So I'm replaying the North American Soccer League indoor. There's an outdoor and an indoor. And then I'm also playing the MISL, which was my favorite as a kid, going to watch the Cleveland Force. So right now, the MISL, the Arrows are on top at 3-0. Zungle leads the league in scoring with 8 goals. You can see Hartford's in there. Some other teams are in there at 1 and 2. But right now, the Arrows are the class of the MISL. In the NASL, it's Atlanta and LA both at 3-0. And Fort Lauderdale is 0-3 so far. And there's a bunch of other teams clustered in at 1 and 2 and 2 and 1. So a lot of fun there. Going to continue on with that. Tennis, men's and women's. This has been very interesting because the winners are not who you think they would be, which is great in a replay for me. I like a little combination. So Yvonne Goolagong, she won the Birmingham Open for the ladies. Jordan, this says wins Philly. It should say Chicago. She won Chicago Open because the women went over to start that Avon championships, a bunch of tournaments in the women's. Kathy Jordan took that. So who's missing from this photo? No Chris Evert, and no Martina Navratilova. Both were, I believe they made to the finals, even maybe one of them made it to the finals in Birmingham. I'm not sure, but they were there in the end of the tournaments, at least semis, but could not pull out the championships. On the men's side, Borg defeated McEnroe in a great Birmingham final. What a way to kick off the men's side. On the Philadelphia tournament, it was Elliot Telcher shocking Ilie Nastase. Again, you're not seeing John McEnroe, although he was in the finals against Borg. He's missing. Jimmy Connors made it to, I think, the semis in one of these. And so just not the bigger names you expect to see. So that's a lot of fun. Should mention, honorable mention to Billie Jean King, who I think made it to the semis in both the ladies ones, and she was pretty much near the end of her career. So the young stars are shaping up to look like they're going to be tough to beat in all these tournaments. So excited to see which ones I get for February. Hockey. Traditional, start with the traditional NHL. Has been a lot of fun to play. Philadelphia is a monster that season, and so they're first in here, doing really well. Trottier and Simmer are leading the league in scoring. You can catch all this on the page as well. Should be a fun run into the playoffs there. Minnesota, excuse me. The Minnesota North Stars are surprising the Campbell Division right now. They surprising they're in there in the race. They're in there right now. A lot of good players. A lot of players doing over their heads. Excuse me. Getting choked up about this next event. All right, the XHL. This is a card set created by Play Games, which is made up of fictional characters, and the game is different. Wow, I gotta get rid of this. The game is much different. It is the way they set this up is you're gonna have 2-point goals. Oh, gonna die here on camera. So the 2-point goals, they are you can get them several different ways. Probably the most known out of it when you start playing it is you can choose not to, once a penalty happens to the other team, you can choose not to put them in the penalty box. And in that 2 minutes, you're still playing, even man. If you score in that 2 minutes, it's a 2-point goal. There's other ways to do it based on qualities and different things that come up breakaways. But that's the main way to score your 2-point goal. That's how the XHL is different. The Arrows are the only undefeated. They're not the only undefeated team, but undefeated and untied team. They're 7-0. The SoCal Sabres, which is they have the big name player from this set. They're 6-0-1. But Steve Semist is on Cleveland. You can see I made up player cards for these. That was a lot of fun. So I made up like a hockey upper deck cards for these fictional players. Steve Semist leads the league in scoring for Cleveland, and this has just been a ton of fun to play that. All right, on to another game that is concept created by me. Thinking of just a Saturday or Sunday morning show. I didn't want to go with the fictional characters that some of them I think are, maybe they're not even fictional. I think some of them really are the pro players that they create from play. I did not want to use that set. I didn't know those guys, didn't know anything about it. So I created a show that you might see on television back in the 80s, and I called it the ASN Celebrity Fishing Show. And basically Bill Murray Fishing. I think I've also called it a couple of different names. So I took the concept of putting celebrities in boats and have them play this fishing game and see who wins, based each boat scoring, pounds of fish. And then throughout the whole process, Bill Murray and Chevy Chase going at it. As anybody knows the 80s, they always went at it. I try to make it as fun as possible, not let them get too out of hand. But it's fun. 2 of my favorite actors of all time. And of course, where do you have your first fishing tournament? Lake Winnipesaukee, of course. If you know Bill Murray, you know that would make sense. So in this, I have these different boats called the Mystery Machine, Party Barge, Patriot Skiff. There's others. Again, you can follow all this on the Facebook page. And I include some comic commentary from Mr. Murray and Mr. Chase. It's just been a lot of fun to do it. All right, on to college basketball. Again, simmed up to January 1st. I won a lot of college games up to then. But there were some. They played in December, I think even in November. Right now, Syracuse is on top at 17-0. DePaul and Indiana, and that Indiana State, and that is an Indiana State team without Larry Bird because he's a rookie in the NBA now. They're one-loss contenders right now. Oregon State looks strong out west, and you can see some of the players who have been stars this far. Louis Orr's really led that Syracuse team to their undefeated start. So, looking forward to heading toward March Madness for this. So, but I got a whole month of February to play out. Okay, to those two guys I just mentioned, I think they had pretty good NBA careers, these two. So their rookie season's been a lot of fun to watch. The Celtics started out great and have dipped a little bit, just a little bit. They're still in it, but the Sixers have overtaken them. So right now, the Sixers and the Lakers look like the favorites to make the NBA Finals. But let's not count this guy out here. He has a way of making things happen. So Magic and Kareem look great together, just like they did in real life. Michael Ray Richardson leads the league in assists. He's a monster for a horrible Knicks team. I did some research on 1980. I remember watching it as a kid, of course, but Michael Ray Richardson was constantly talked about in trade talks, and I'm going to get into the divergence desk. I at any point I could trade him because that's what they were thinking. So to this point I haven't, but it may happen. I don't know when the trade deadline is in the NBA, and we need to look that up. And right now George Gervin is the leading scorer. He's the scoring champ right now. So let's move on to the PBA Tour, some bowling. This has been a lot of fun. Again, 3 different champions. You had the Charlie Tappan, the Showboat Invitational. Bill Straub won the Miller High Life tournament, and not the only bowler, but one of the very few bowlers I remember as a kid, Mark Roth, won the Quaker State. This has been a pretty wild game using plays bowling. Again, I'll get into all the different games at the end, but has been fun. I've actually enjoyed Bowlington. Not sure. See, this is part of that whole universe idea that game. What I was frustrated about was I had all these games and none of them were making my tabletop. And because am I going to really just sit here and play bowling every day? No, that's not going to interest me. But if I can get bowling out once a week in some kind of structured setup, that's where I got into this. And so this has been fun. I play it back up on my shelf. It comes back out when the next tournament's hit. So that and golf and all these other games besides baseball, basketball, football, and now hockey were the only 4 that I wanted to play because I could play those consistently. And if you're going to replay like I do, you're going to play a whole season. And I've done that many times, but it just wears up. You get finished with a whole entire season and you go, okay, that was fun, but now what? And I don't know, it was kind of a big buildup for nothing. So that's what all these things led me into doing this, get every game off my shelf, basically. I can play any hockey game at any time I want, and just the statistics are what get added to the end. So that's what I've been doing. Sorry, hit the wrong button there. All right, so let's continue on to the next thing. So we talked about those 3 bowlers. So the divergence desk. This is an idea that I thought about one night. Okay, so now I'm doing all these replays. What's gonna keep me moving forward and wanting to keep playing this and make it so it's not stale? And I started thinking, well, I am about replays, not replicas. So I'm going to consider a divergence from the path, and because when you think about replays, and if you do them as I do, as played, you get into, like, I'll just take baseball for instance. You get into a spot where like, let's just use a team like Kansas City, the Royals. In real life, they might have dealt 6 or 7 players near the deadline. Didn't happen as much in the 80s with that many, but now it does. But let's just say they dealt a key player away because they were not playing well, and they had to get some future players to help them win in the future. You see those trades all the time. Well, in your replay, what if they're first place? What if they're contending? They would never trade away that player. What if a team isn't hadn't really played well in that season, but in your replay they're doing well? They might make a trade to really be a solid contender. So I decided to introduce that idea. What happens if a free agent didn't go sign with somebody else? What if it was really close between two teams, and I picked the other one this time? How did that affect everything? What if in some of the replays, I was really hoping there'd be a shakeup in my NFL draft, and there wasn't, because the teams finished exactly the same. But what if in my NBA replay, which I'm quite sure it's going to happen this way, there's a different shakeup in the draft? Because I'm going to use my 79-80 results to play my 80-81 season. So the NBA draft may be different. So looking at that kind of stuff for the Divergence Desk, and I've already hit a big one with the Olympics. So the Eastern Bloc teams have announced that they will not play in the Olympics due to President Carter's boycotts that he's put into place. And this was a real thing. If you watch the Miracle movie, one of my favorites, I don't know how many times I watched that. They were thought that they were definitely going to do that, but they decided to come over and play. So my other thought on this was, has anybody ever gotten the USA team to beat Russia in any C&D game? I mean, come on. That team was just stacked. It's like trying to get another basketball team in another country to really beat the USA. It's not going to happen. So this is just going to shake up the Olympics big time in Lake Placid for 1980. And so from what I'm seeing, I think it's really going to be between Canada and the US. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. So that's a big February item, is the Olympics. They get rocking. So that'll be a lot of fun. So there'll be no Soviets, no East Germans, no Czechs in Lake Placid for me. As I said, Canada, Sweden, the US are in there. And so the medal table should be very interesting. I'm not just replaying hockey. I am doing all the sports from that. I will be creating the games to do that. So there is games out there for Olympics. I did look at it. I bought some from someone, but I just haven't. I looked at it and was like, I can create something better. And I'll end up doing my own. All right, so let's talk about the behind the dice. Some of the games that I use to play these, and talk about the concepts that I've used around them. I know I've done a lot of that already. But let's start out with Bowl-O-Rama. That's from Play Games. Didn't really touch anything on that. They released a 1980 season, so I'm using their cards. Again, not something that I could keep on my desktop every day. Just couldn't. But it's been fun to pull it out about once a week. Dodgeball, that one I created the concept around it, using their rules, using the rules of the game from Play. A lot of fun. Again, don't think I could play that game with the players that are with it, but the celebrity piece of this has made that fun. Tennis, 1980 season was created for. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I created the cards for the 1980 season. This is the first thing that I did from my own creation. I forgot that until just this second. I created the 1980 season for men and women. So on this, using I got the Let's Play on almost all their games has a card creation booklet that they sell. So I bought that for tennis and made my own cards for 1980 season. So yeah, I forgot that till just now. Golf, they do create a 1980 season. I have that. So I'm using for History Maker Golf. So a lot of play games on my table because they make enough of the odder games that other companies don't. I don't know if odd's probably not the best word, but just, they're not the big four sports games. Fishing kind of went into that already. Used the fishing game from Play, but created my own celebrity ones. I used Paydirt for college football. That was a lot of fun. I had to create my own charts for those teams. A piece. This is a game that I picked up that I really like during this. I really looked at a lot of different games to create NBA. Um, Action PC I looked at, ended up using that for college. Um, and I'll get into that in a minute. But PC Replay I liked because you can take, and I know now other games have done this, but when I started this, they didn't. But PC Replay had the ability to play the cards and dice game and enter your result into the PC. And I was able to do that sim with the PC game up to January 1st. So that really made this very attractive at the time. It was the only one that did it. And so I will continue to finish out the season with PC Replay for the NBA. Second season, I used that for the NFL and the 79-80 season. I don't know what I'm going to use for Pro. I think I'm going to use drive. What is it called? Drive time. So John Turnbull's game for that. But again, the great thing about doing this kind of replay is I could use one game one week and another game another week, and as long as I'm keeping the stats, you're keeping the stats. Nobody cares. It used to be a thing. Oh, you can't switch between games, and now they're all so good that you can, and I do. So as I said, for Action PC, I use that for hockey. I use that for college basketball. So Action PC does have. I know they came out with a new game, but college basketball game. But I think it was them. Yeah. Anyway, they had a 1980 college seasons. Only game I could find with 1980 college basketball. So that's great. And then I created my own game called Quick Kicks. That was for the indoor soccer. So that's worked out for both the NASL and the MISL. For the World Racing, created a game for that and a concept around that. And I created custom sets for dodgeball and fishing. And I should have put in the tennis because I had forgot that I created my own tennis set. But I did. Anyway, so there's that. So now what would any show be without a top 10 countdown? So let's hit it. So these are just the top 10 events, no particular order from the replay. Moses Malone has been a monster in my NBA replay, and he had 32 rebounds in a game. Dude seems to constantly hit over 20 a game. It's crazy. But 32 rebounds in a game is insane. That was a pretty big moment. This one, Malache, hopefully I'm saying his name right there, had 51 saves in the game. He gave up 3 goals in that game, 54 shots on him in that game. Absolutely amazing. It ended up being a tie game. But what a game. 51 saves is crazy. College basketball, Greg Murphy hit a 51-point game for Southern. That's the highest scoring game thus far in the NCAA. So big game for him. And 300 bowling games, as you know, is the perfect bowling game. I had 2 of them, both in the same tournament, both in the same round. I believe it was the second round. Paul Colwell and Mike Durbin hit 300s. So that was fun to bowl. Golf, I already mentioned this once before, but that reed edging at kite was a lot of fun. It felt we were so real going to 18. I felt the tension. It was just a lot of fun to play. In the MISL, Houston was down 7-2 and came back and beat St. Louis 8-7. Again, love the scoring in indoor soccer. College football, a lot of fun to play that Alabama FSU game, 21-17 Alabama. Just I love close games and really loved the Rams comeback. I thought they were going to win this and really throw a whole wrinkle into the NFL draft. But they didn't, as Matt Barr hit that field goal at the buzzer, and my hated Steelers win that game. In the XHL, Antti Hellstrom hit back-to-back 2-point goals, and literally they were minutes apart. In a 10-6 win by Milwaukee. Only guy who's hit back-to-back goals in a game so far for 2-pointers. So that was a big moment. I don't think he's done much since. But and then for me, my moment. just the realization that I was going to have to do a lot of work to make myself happy, and to make this go along. And so the realization that I not only had to create concepts around some of these games, um, and seasons for player cards that I needed, but just the reality that why am I trying to chase down developers to get copies of games when, and again, I'm going to use the word easy. Please don't kill me, developers out there. But some of the games that I want to create are easy to create for those games. And I'm not talking about baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Those are hard to create. I'm talking about creating games like I created a beer league softball that's coming up here in February. I'll talk about that in a minute. Quick Kicks for soccer, that world racing game. Those were not hard to create. I did them all in a day or two. It might have took 3 days in the softball one because I had so much trouble printing, getting the cards to print out. But again, non-statistical games are not hard to create for me, um, and so that realization that I can make this a lot of fun, keep, and I've still got a lot more games I got to create. You'll see it here in February. Has just worked for me. It's just made this even more fun. So let's take a look at the February preview. What's coming up next month? So first off is my ASN Beer Softball League. I played one game of it so far, and man, is it fun. I have just about everybody, and I can't, not everybody, there's over 300 people on my channel, my Facebook page. Try to create a lot of the people who were there, give them their own cards. So I can, if you look at here, Jason Penske here for, that's probably not going to come in, is it? No, because anyway, I got little player comical photos. I actually used your photos off of Facebook and created comical photos from them. So if you don't like them, yell at AI. Um, but kind of a concept of all the different games I've ever played, where like it's got a little bit of like play feeling to it with qualities. It's got a little bit of status pro kind of feeling to it, with their hit traits. You know, like they're a spray hitter, they're a power hitter, a little bit of everything. And this is going to be interesting to see how this works out. I've got 12 teams I think here. Played the first game; it was fun, but I got a whole season coming up and see how that works out. So excited about my beer league softball. Um, and then the MLB spring talks are coming up. So this is where the Divergence desk is going to come in, and I might have a few players not sign with the teams they signed with in the offseason. Maybe a few trades don't happen the way they were at, or maybe I introduce a few trades. So I got do you remember, if you watched the movie Miracle, you saw the USA hockey against Russia, a preview, and Russia killed them. So I have to change that because Russia's not coming. So it will be against Canada. So that should be fun. Again, it's just a preview game. The LPGA will be kicking off. I got to create a set for that because I don't have one I'm almost positive that I don't have one. I have one for the men's side, but they didn't create a 1980 for the women, so I got to create those cards. GT Racing, again, that's another racing game that I'll be creating, get in the GT circuit. Probably be a lot like at least the engine will be the same as the WRC, just got to make it for GT. Boxing, I did this. This is a AI burp, I like to call them. I boxed Sanchez and Lopez early on, I think on like the first day, January 1st or something, because AI had said that boxing match was the 1st of January for some reason. Anyway, ended up it was really in February. So we'll call that a preview bout between the two of them. But they were actually going for, I believe they're going for the welterweight championship. So that'll be fun to play that. Track and field, another game that I'll be creating on my own, and the Millrose games for that one. So there'll be a lot of fun to do the track and field games. Interesting to see how that one comes out. Of course, I'm doing the entire Olympics from Lake Placid, not just hockey. Again, I'll be creating that on my own to work out an Olympics thing. That should be a lot of fun. And finally some baseball. I've been missing baseball so bad. I really got to pick up how I'm going to do this. I am going to do spring training, um, and it's probably going to be more to figure out what I'm going to do for baseball. There's so many great games out there for baseball. I got to figure out what I have in storage for 1980, and then I got to figure out, am I going to use? I'm pretty sure I know I'm going to use like Digital Diamond to record all my scoring, but what I'm really kind of hoping for is that I use maybe a different game each week, like payoff pitch one week and um, maybe status pro the next week, and really just interchange all the games I have. So first off, I have to take stock on what I have for the 1980 season, decide if I'm going to buy any more seasons. So I have a lot of different ones on my table. Um, Obviously, I can't play every game, which I'd love to do. That'll take forever with all these other sports. So I'll probably play just like I do for hockey and basketball. Um, I will play um, like one or two games a night, or a night on their schedule is when I say a night, and then maybe use an express scheme, or might use the Status Pro. I don't like using the Digital Diamond um, sim game. I shouldn't say I don't like it. I would rather use the Status Pro sim engine for that, and I have that. So I'll probably sim those out with the Status Pro engine. Might even do something like take it to the seventh inning of each game and then finish them out. I again got to get my concept around how I want to do baseball, and spring training is going to allow me to do that. So I'm using spring training as my spring training to get ready and how I'll actually play out the 1980 baseball season. Let's not forget that is the season before the strike. So some interesting stuff could come through there. All right. So closing. Wow. It has been an absolute amazing ride. It's exactly what I was looking for. Getting different games off my shelf, playing different games, creating different things, had the creative side of me, developing games I never thought I would do. All this has been a ton of fun. So um, anybody who wants to go down a journey like this, wants any recommendations or suggestions, more than happy to do it. The games that I'm creating, once I feel like they're good and they're definitely working well, I will put them out there on my page. Probably put them out there on that page that Kevin Thomas created for developers. It will be free because I don't support them. Not that I won't support them. If you have an issue and I need to fix something, I absolutely will, of course. But I don't have to feel like I have to because it's a paid product. So, because that is definitely not my intention when I develop these. I'm developing them strictly for me, for my 80 replay. So, with that in mind, if people want to pick them up and use them, go for it. Have fun with them. Hopefully, they work for you. But I didn't create them for you; I created them for me. So, uh, outside of that, that's all I got. I will be back again I'm sure, well before the end of February, to do things, throw some updates in. But hope you all are following the Facebook page. That is the only place. Let me finish with this. That is the only place now that I am putting my results, is on my Facebook page, because I got people bitching and moaning and whining about me putting them on other pages. So I have basically pulled all the groups that I used to post in, and I post on one now, just mine. So that's where everything's at. So, all right, I will talk to everyone later.